Hello, hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation podcast. My name is Eddie Vigil, and I am your host. This is episode number 39, and joining me today is Debra Lynn Hull.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Yes. You are we wanted to introduce you. Jeez Louise. All right, you're an actor.
I am.
And producer.
And a producer, yep. I've been producing, acting for about ever, and producing since about 2005.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a nice start to. All right, and of course, I don't know, producing encompasses so much that I know you have, the ins and outs of filmmaking and the processes, directing and coaching actors and casting, and you.
I have, haven't I?
Did you almost forget?
I haven't written one yet. I've often had people say, "Well, you should write something." It's like, I don't want to do all the work. I really don't. So I'm sure everybody knows, but producing sounds so elevated. Really, the definition of a producer is somebody who does the stuff nobody else wants to do. Sometimes nobody else on set can do, but it's usually we're like moms, dads, janitors. We put the stuff together. So it can be glorifying, but it's usually just a lot of work. So if you're good at organization skills, you too could be a producer.
Yes, putting stuff together, also keeping it together.
Yes.
Putting out fires, cleaning messes.
Yes.
Managing personalities.
Yes.
And keeping everybody
from killing each other. A very good friend of ours, Tom Logan, a director, has said that his job as a director is to manage 200 people who are diabolically opposed to each other.
Okay. Sure.
You've never been on a set where it felt like...
No, that happens, definitely, but I guess I try not to create those. I mean, of course, the idea is you don't want those. You don't actively seek out those environments.
No,
it's just human nature.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the present a little bit.
Okay.
Actually, no.
Okay.
We got a night. All right. We have. I wanted to give a little bit of where we are, who you are in relation to me. Because when I think of you... All right, first of all, geez, Eddie, figure this out. You, to me, I met you for the first time when I was right out of college, and I wanted to explore the acting world.
Right.
And I landed on a play, Rum Runners.
Yep.
And that was 2014, I believe, if that's correct.
That sounds right.
2013, maybe. I don't know. Somewhere in that vein.
Right.
And you were a lead on that nice theater play.
Yeah, that Bill Quimby musical. Absolutely,
the classic Bill Quimby music genre.
Yeah.
So I met you on that, and was doing my exploration in that zone, and shortly after, you swooped me up because I wanted to, like, I didn't know anything about acting. I did Acting 101 as my last semester in college, and did the play, which is a whole experience on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Ensemble background, just trying to even sing for the first. Oh my word! So after that, you had just jump-started your scene study class.
I had, yeah.
And I was like, that is exactly what I'm looking for. It is perfect. And I got to see you work and see how you carried yourself. And I'm like, I trust this person. Let's do it. Let's move forward. So you're definitely a part of the fundamentals of how I've approached everything film since then. So I take a lot from those experiences 100%. So yes, so there's that. And then I've yeah, and we've kept in touch since, and you've been a big supporter of mine, and I appreciate it. And we are currently in your home. We're in Reno, Nevada.
Yep.
And we're
where it looks like LA in the 70s outside with all the smoke from the fires surrounding. So
it's bad right now.
It's ridiculous.
So that's my perception of the relationship. You don't have to talk about me, but
I'm going to, though.
How do you view what?
You want me to talk now?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
that's my question.
So yeah, I mean, we did. We met on the set, the stage of a musical, Rum Runners, by Bill Quimby and Marva Del Giorgio. Marva, you're out there. She's in the UK. I had moved back. I'd been in LA for several years, from 2007 until about 2012. And while I was down there, I was studying scene study with Joe Please. And he gave me permission to teach his method up here. So that's really the scene study course that you got to experience. And it's very much about being human, and so it's not big, broad, stagey proscenium theater acting. It's just, acting like the character.
And it's specifically for the screen versus stage, or does it?
It translates. Okay. I mean, if you were performing at Pioneer Theater or at the Pantages in LA, no, you've got to be bigger and bolder and, much more broad, flamboyant character. But for most theater, at least on the West Coast, most of it is like black box theater, community theater, Restless Artists Theatre. Sometimes during a show, we have to make sure the patrons get their feet off the stage because the audience is that close to us. So when they're that close, you just don't want to be screaming at them. Right? I mean, so for that kind of intimate theater, there is no difference really between film and theater, which I kind of like, and even the modern plays that are written after the year 2000 are much more intimate and slice of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that makes sense now that you explain it. So
yeah,
and of course.
Yeah. So acting is reacting. Acting is more than saying the dialogue. And what I loved when you came in is to the scene study class is you really, really embrace that. You really got in the head of the character. You wanted to understand who this person is, and that's really what acting is all about. And you took the same approach when you went behind the camera, of really understanding how the information gets translated to the screen.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't remember too much specifically about the class, like about the scenes I put up or anything like that. I mostly remember the anxiety of trying to just do the thing at all. Acting is very difficult, and no, it was a great experience, and I do not feel like I ever quite 100% landed in the actor brain, but
you found your talent on the other side of the camera, though.
Sure. Yeah.
But it helps you as a director and a filmmaker to understand the process that's going on in front of the camera.
100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So, speaking about the present, you mentioned Restless Artists Theatre. You were talking to me before about jumping into the director chair for some stuff coming up for that company.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I do a little bit of both at Restless Artists Theatre. Up here in Reno, everybody's got an acronym for their name. So we're RAT. And we have a big 6-foot Stanley rat is our mascot. I know. Now we have Doe. It's a long story. Well, maybe we'll put the website in there. You guys can check it out. But of course, we were closed during the pandemic. Everybody was. Mm-hmm. And so we got to open back up this July. We did 2 plays. One is running currently this weekend and next weekend with a couple of short runs. So I was on stage for Edward Albee's Occupant, and I'll be on stage for our Christmas play, which is Dear, which is not tinselly and singing. We do the anti-Christmas play. Not that we're anti-Christmas, we just feel people need an option. And then next spring, I'm going to be directing both Marjorie Prime, which will probably be sometime in April, May, and then our summer show will be Admissions. That'll be done during Art Town.
So you're directing 2 of those
I'm directing 2, yeah. Last year I directed Slow Girl. We closed Slow Girl, and then the pandemic closed everything else, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was, yeah.
So what is what's the next story that you mentioned, the one that you're directing?
Marjorie Prime.
Yeah, what's that about?
So Marjorie Prime is actually a science fiction play. And it deals with aging and memory and how do we want to remember and how do we choose to remember.
Okay.
So it's really an interesting play. It's got...
how do we want... those are very...
Yeah.
Those are very interesting themes.
I mean, memory is... It's the... Marjorie she's 85 years old and she is suffering from dementia. Mm-hmm. So it's a look at how human beings choose to forget things. When things are too painful, we have a tendency to choose to forget them, not even consciously. And the conflict that causes those that still remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a comedy. It kind of has a... Well, it's got a science fiction ending, so it's...
Okay. All right, yeah, I mean, that sounds like it sounds like a story that would definitely need some comedic asides, or kind of. You said is it a comedy or is it a drama that has like comedic things that keep you kind of like?
It's kind of like a dramedy. I mean, it's got some lightheartedness. Not to give a spoiler.
Sure.
This isn't a spoiler, but. Senior Serenity, which is the company that makes primes, Marjorie Prime. The company that makes primes, Prime is actually a cyborg. And the prime looks like someone in your past, and then you tell the story to them, and then they can relate it as at firsthand. And so Marjorie's prime is her husband, Walter. Now, Marjorie's in her 80s. Her Walter is in his 20s. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to tell you.
That's great. Is it cast yet? Have you gone through that process?
No, we're just starting the casting process. We had season auditions last weekend. We saw 42 amazing people. The first play coming up is Emily. Le Marquis du Châtelet defends her life tonight. Doug is directing that, and he's just cast that one. So now we'll kind of start the casting process. We're really talking about, because we don't know if we're going to get to keep open or not, right? That's kind of all still in flux. So we have 6 plays that we're doing this season. We're kind of trying to space them and cast them. I don't know if we're going to do it as we go. It's kind of a dilemma, because there's a part of us that really wants to cast the actors and let them know it's in pencil. I mean, if we close down, we close down. I think that it would be lovely as an actor if you know that you're cast and a projected date, and you can kind of start to look forward to that.
Yeah, you start to prep and...
Yeah. But, or will people be more disappointed if they think they're going to get it and then it falls through, which happens in the film industry all the time, but not so much in the theater industry. So we're kind of trying to find a happy medium there. So feel free to weigh in out there in TV land, podcast land.
So let's, we can talk, I'm curious to hear about your directing style and why you direct certain ways and what your plan of attack is, or how that changes, and also talking casting too, because that's a thing.
Yeah, a whole different thing.
Everybody wants to know how to get cast.
Right. So, and you know what? So here's the thing, right? If you get cast, let's take it back to a headshot, okay? It won't be a long story. But if you've got a headshot, right, and you're getting auditions for things that you're not really fond of doing. Let's say you keep getting called in to be the bully, right? Mm-hmm. And you're really a sweet guy. You're not a bully. Why do you get called in to be a bully? Well, you have to look at your headshot because that's the first thing a casting director sees. And even in theater, we keep the headshot and we'll go through them periodically when we're looking to cast a show. So the first thing to look at is your headshot representing you the way you want to be represented? Okay? It's more than a pretty picture. It's the first thing we see. So when I cast, especially, so we do black box theater. It's like I said, it's very intimate theater. The audience is 2 feet away.
Yeah, they're nearly involved, yeah.
Right. So I can wiggle some of the characteristics of the cast, but it's easier if it's quick to spot on. So you're going to get typecast. It's just not a bad thing. Be really good at the type that you'd be cast as. When it comes to directing, I'm not one that really requires actors to be off book the first day of rehearsal. Me personally, I get a lot of satisfaction out of going through that process and working with the other actors and kind of feeling my way through it.
Yeah.
We do give at least basic blocking right away so that...
And we're talking theater directing specifically.
Theater directing specifically. In film, your blocking 99% of the time relies on where the camera's set up. In theater, you're going to occupy the stage space for about 2 hours. So in a way, it's more organic, even though it's in a pretend space. So yeah, we kind of get them into blocking right away, and then start working the play in pieces, whether it's characters that have scenes together. I like to break it down, it's called French scening whenever possible. So you may do these 2 characters if they've got 5 pages in Act 1 and 3 pages in Scene 4 and all that. We could rehearse all those in one day. So they're getting kind of their through line. It's not necessarily the way the play runs. A lot of times the play isn't put fully together in a linear run until really Tech Week, the week before we open. My job as a director, once the play is cast, really in pre-production is to create the environment for the characters. So to do whatever I can, and in community theater, it's a pretty limited budget, but to do whatever I can to create that space that I see in my mind, so that as the actors take the stage, it gives them as much practical and sensory input so that it makes it easier for them to let the character take over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah? And I do it a lot. Lighting is huge. Our stage is relatively small, so we don't have big pieces of furniture and stuff that we use very often. So it's a lot of lighting. I use sound. A lot of times I'll have sound running throughout and very low, so it just kind of sets the ambiance. And working with actors, sometimes in the script there's something tangible that the author has put in as far as a prop or a touchstone for the actor. If there isn't something there, I'll work with the actor and kind of get their feedback on, how do they, if a character has a stuffed animal or a scarf or something along those lines that they feel kind of fulfills them.
Yeah, I was going to go back to blocking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious because I've never directed theater, and like you said, it's a different weird spatial dynamic you have with an audience, and
Right.
how prominent somebody is and how to make them prominent and all that kind of stuff. Do you spend much time? Is it a process that you go through before you jump into rehearsal, where you
Oh, yes.
where you know spacings and blockings?
Yeah,
And
yeah. And we have at Rat Theater, we have what's referred to as a semi-thrust stage. So we have audience on three sides. So the most of the audience is right in front of the stage, and then we have a little bit on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times in the play when an actor has their back to a portion of the audience. And so in directing, we have to be really cognizant of that. We use the 45-degree angles a lot, the corners of the stages, but keeping enough movement happening so that no patron is blocked for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we use crosses a lot, have the actors change spaces. We'll use lighting to kind of illuminate different parts of the stage to help, focus the attention where the story's being told for the actors. So yeah, and that all happens. That's all pre-production. That work. In fact, I'm starting on that work now for Marjorie Prime.
Yeah. Because I was thinking of like rehearsal is also pre-production. So I was trying to clarify like pre and pre.
Yeah, this is pre. This is and really, I've been working with this particular theater company. Well, I co-founded it with Doug Mishler 5 years ago. So we've been working very closely, and we know each other's work. But for directors who submit a play and would like to direct a play with our theater company, they actually have to submit, the director's vision for the play, how they imagine the blocking to be, what kind of set design that they're thinking of, so that we can make sure that it fits within literally the physical space of what we're doing, and we make sure that we can get the play produced on time, and we have enough pre-production time to be with the cast. So rehearsal time. So in theater, pre-production is pretty much before we go into rehearsal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then rehearsal. Okay.
And then rehearsal, which can be, it depends on the piece, it depends on the cast, it depends on everybody's time. I mean, the shortest rehearsal time is 3 weeks. Then you pretty much better come off book. If you've got people that have the time to spend more time with it, or teaching is also part of our mission statement of our theater company, it can go as long as 6 to 8 weeks. Now, that's not 5 days a week, 8 hours a day by any means. Everybody has jobs, so we're grabbing a couple hours here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. I want to jump to the past.
Okay.
And hear about the journey. Like you mentioned, your stint in LA. Like what took you, what you're doing before Los Angeles. You're doing casting for a while in Reno. You had a company here. You've produced features. Okay, let's
get a little timeline.
So that's where did you go to school for acting in the arts and film in any capacity? Do we want to start there?
Sure.
High school.
Sure. Okay, so when I was 4 years old, my parents had a fireplace and it had a hearth on it, right? So it was brick, about yay tall and yay wide. Yeah, and that became my stage when I was 4 years old. And I memorized every musical I could get a hold of. I did Abbott and Costello routines. So when I got into high school, I got into drama, and I did drama in high school and the musicals and all of that. And I don't know why, really, but, well, yeah, because I think my father said he wouldn't pay for me to get a degree in acting. So no, I didn't go to school to get a degree in performing arts. I learned it on the street. I learned it in community theater. I learned it in any sort of production anybody would do. Yeah, I was up in Santa Rosa, California, and if somebody said, hey, do you want to do You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown for the state fair, county fair? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So a lot of it's a blur. But then I became a grown-up. And I thought, well, I have to leave this behind, right? So I got a real job and was miserable and did all that and eventually fell in love and got married and had a son. And the son got into middle school and wanted to do theater. And so I thought, well, I'm going to be an encouraging mother because I wished I had been encouraged more. So I encouraged him. And I now tell parents, I'm sorry, your child is an actor. I'm so sorry, because it will never leave. So in 2002, when our son got involved in theater, it was like a bad drug. I'm just telling you, it was like, oh my God, it never went away. I'd always been in front of people. I'd always been a presenter. I'd spoken, and the acting bug just was right there. So I had the opportunity to go to Pasadena to work with a company down there that had a training facility up here. So I went down there and I got the headshots and agents and...
So your son being interested re-triggered your fire, relit your fire. And then what prompted you to act on it? Was it...
the most supportive husband in the world that said, go do this. So for 2 years, I was 10 days in LA and 4 days up here. And eventually that got old. So came back up here, bought Nevada Casting, bought a casting company that also could work up in Nevada as a talent agency. And so I had that. And we were producing some short films. I co-produced a feature film. A company came in here. We did met a ton of actors, did a sitcom on public access television. It was great, right? And then I learned that I could not be a SAG actor owning Nevada Casting, because in Nevada, it's not just a casting company, it's casting and talent agency. It's an employment company. And that's against SAG rules. I mean, an actor can own a casting company, but they can't have any financial interest, at least in 2000s, of a talent agency. So I sold it because that was kind of always my dream. So I went back down to LA, kind of shuttled back and forth again, got some awesome training, which made a huge difference in my ability to do everything and anything on stage in front of the camera. And moved back in 2012. I moved down there in 2007, and then the writers went on strike, so there was no work. And then kind of came back from that. And then 2012, it was just... it was time to come back. It was time to do more. You know, I'd had a taste of producing. I did a little bit of producing of some SAG projects down there. I became a SAG signatory producer down there. And so I saw an opportunity to come back up here. Nevada was starting to really push for some film incentives. And I thought, this is a great time to come back up here and help folks up here kind of get ready for the film industry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Building up Reno versus I'll call it being the cog in LA. Yeah. And
I like the creation aspect of the industry. I mean, I can do administration. It's not my thrill. I love kind of, getting in the dirt and molding it. And there was a great opportunity to do that up here. So
you brush over many years very quickly. And I'm like, I want to hear about
the pain and the suffering.
Or I'm sure it can't all be pain and suffering.
No. But there's a lot of it. I mean, a lot of, both in front of and behind the camera, the most that you have to learn is to get out of your own way. there is no really on-the-job training. If you're struggling booking, whether it's production jobs or acting jobs, you're sabotaging yourself. You're looking for somebody to tell you you're good enough. Now, this is human nature, and we're raised to do this from the time we're children, right? Oh, you giggle, and your parents think, oh, that's so wonderful, and they love it, and so you giggle again so that they love it again. But as an actor, and I think probably as crew to a certain extent too, when you're going into work, you have to have the confidence that you know you can do it. Which means you can't do everything. I will never book a job. I will never be able to take a job away from Morgan Freeman for very obvious reasons. Not just the fact that he's an A-lister, but obvious reasons. Because I can't be Morgan Freeman. But God, I'm the only person on the planet who can be me. So embrace you. You've got to be you first. You can develop skill set to morph into different hats that you wear, but it's got to be you. When you show up with that level of confidence, producers, casting, directors, they feel confident having you on the set. Writers feel confident handing you their pages. I can't play everything. I used to say, well, I can be whatever you want me to be, but I can't. But I'm really good at being me. And if I'm not right for the project, then that's okay. I'm not right for the project. So find the you that's you. And spend your time becoming that. There was Edward Albee who wrote the play The Occupant. Louise Nevelson, who's an actual sculptor, lived in the last century. Amazing woman, powerful woman, feisty woman. I fell in love with her. But he gives her this great line, and he knew her personally. He gives her this great line. She says, if you're lucky, you find out if you're lucky, you become who you want to be. And if you're really lucky, you become who you're supposed to be. And then she says, no. If you're lucky, you find out who that you is, what that you is, and you become it. People who don't become are, well, look around. And that's the truth. Find you. Become you. There's only you. There's only one you. Become it.
No, it's yeah, I mean that's what I feel like it always comes down to. Mm-hmm. But Debra, how do I find me? Is what the audience is asking. What? Because I mean it's a very difficult thing. First of all, to get a glimpse, like to get that feel, like just feel that. Mm-hmm. Is very hard to find. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I felt something there. Is that me? Is that not me? And then having the confidence to chase that version of yourself, or to, like, that's a whole other step. Yeah. To become, like, it's all very, very, it's very difficult. For sure.
And it's scary.
Very scary.
It's scary. It's scary because in that process of finding you, do you miss out on something else? Do you put relationships at risk? Do you put your career at risk?
100%, yeah.
And the answer is yes and no. So there's an author, you can get his book still through Amazon, called Kevin McCarthy, and he wrote a book called The On Purpose Person. And it's a exercise in discovering who you are, what your purpose is. Everybody has a purpose. Now, if you're comfortable thinking it's your God-given purpose, that's great. If you're comfortable thinking it's your spiritual, higher conscience, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You came here with a purpose. And this book helps you define your purpose down to a sentence. Okay, here's the good news. You are not far from your purpose, wherever you are in life right now, because subconsciously, you have known this all along. So you have already been making choices that have you in the vicinity of what it is you intended to do. Now, how do you know? Because it's your bliss. It's not work. It's not struggle. It's not miserable. It's not always easy, but it's very simple. There's a lot of metaphysical philosophers who wrote books, 1910, 1903, Science of Getting Rich, all of that is out of that metaphysical philosophy that basically states that when the passion is there, everything you need, the entire supply of the universe that you need to fulfill your desire is available. Once the passion shows up, everything's available. But a lot of times we're afraid of the passion. We're afraid of making that statement. But the power is the statement. So you feel it. You feel your way through it. We are emotional beings. We're vibrational beings.
Yeah, I just read The Alchemist for the first time.
Oh, yes.
And then it's very much everything that you just said as well. Because in the story it's written as the personal legend. And the same exact thing is like the universe will assist in the pursuit of that personal legend. You just got to be looking out for the omens and be present and aware and looking for those things.
And here's the thing. The universe has no choice. The universe is amoral. You don't get what you deserve. You kind of don't even get what you believe in. But you do get 100% of what you focus on. And we as beings have the ability to choose what we give our attention to. So if your life is, you're getting a bunch of stuff from the universe that you don't like, you're participating in that. You've got to shift your focus. And it could be minor shifts. But it's the law of polarity. You know, everything you want is on one side and everything you don't want is on the other side. And you get what you give your attention to. Every time, without a doubt.
So what I'm taking from all of this is that essentially you weren't getting what you wanted in Los Angeles, and it was time to shift over and mix it up and chase it. Yeah.
And a lot of it was letting go, because I was trying so hard to be an actor. I was trying so hard to get attention. I was seeking validation for my talent. But what I was focusing on was the absence of it, the absence of bookings, the absence of auditions, the absence of opportunities. So guess what I got a lot of?
Absence?
I mean, I wish I'd known then what I know now. Oh, well, next life.
or this life.
Or this life. You never know.
Okay, so you mentioned casting. I want to dive into that a little bit more too.
Sure.
Since we heard your arc already with that, where you started it and then you sold it for the reason of being available for SAG.
Right.
Or So you talked a little bit about headshot and again knowing who you are, presenting that. But how do I really get cast?
Okay. Well, so your headshot is your introduction. It's your business card. Don't just look for a pretty headshot, okay? But a headshot that you look at and you go, yeah, I can show up looking like this, okay? And I know that kind of sounds silly, but oftentimes when we have headshots done and we have somebody else do our hair and somebody else do our makeup, and then they retouch it, and then we look at it and we go, I can't reproduce that. That's not a good headshot. I mean, you're better off being messy and being able to confidently walk in the room, look like that, because they call you in from your headshot. So you know that's what they're expecting. But if your headshot's too perfect, you're going to undermine yourself. Okay? There is room out there for everyone. I don't know if they're still doing in LA, if they're still doing have all these different looks. But you're only going to have pretty much one that you send out a lot. If you've got an agent, usually when they submit and get an audition for you, I think they still send you a copy on there of which picture they used, hopefully, so you have an idea. If they don't, ask, so you know what the casting is expecting you to show up as.
Yeah, what's working.
Yeah. Right. COVID has changed so much.
Self-tapes.
Yeah, self-tapes are a big deal. Take a workshop and figure out in your environment how to do self-tapes. I don't know if casting directors are starting to do generals again, because that's kind of small group. It's not a big open space. But getting to know the casting directors is really the best way to get cast. Your resume work, if you don't have a lot of experience yet on your resume, constantly be studying. Even in Zoom classes. I mean, I taught my classes Zoom over the summer last year, and it worked. I mean, you're kind of like practicing for your close-up. But I will cast somebody with a lot of training and little experience, probably quicker than I will cast somebody with little experience or with little training and a lot of experience. If you've got training, it means you're directable. It means you know how to listen. It also means you're serious about the craft. You're not just spitting dialogue.
Yeah, I was thinking about. I just got done script supervising for a nice little indie feature, and I remember there was a few moments when the director would pull out like her phone and show off some like self tapes that were like memorable to her. Either we were there was this one woman who was cast, and her self tape. We're kind of laughing at it for the one reason that the person acting across from her, like reading for the self tape, was like her 7-year-old daughter. So I kind of like had a warm heart because like she's, there's no one else around to read for her. She's pursuing this thing. And so it's like this little girl is reading off this like raunchy dialogue to her mom and like cussing at her mom a little bit. It's kind of like, that's why we're laughing. Little girl's like, "You bitch." And then I was like, all right, well, this is kind of adorable. And the mom has to play it as like this guy is yelling at her.
Right. Wow. That would be making it hard on yourself. But you work with what you got. Absolutely.
So it was kind of, like I said, heartwarming, but also
uncomfortable.
Yeah. I was
awkward.
I was like, shut up, yeah.
Awkward. It's like, you don't have a neighbor that could yell at you?
That's that's the issue. I've heard this many times from multiple friends with self-tapes are such a huge thing right now that finding a reader that's available that much, you're going to drive your significant other crazy to ask them to read for every audition you're doing that week.
Oh, my God. Or if you're doing plays, poor Ken, by the time a play opens, he knows my lines better than I know him.
Oh,
he could understudy because he reads with me. But here again, if you're in training, if you're in a class with somebody, other actors are more than willing to help you with your self-tapes.
They have apps for that now, too, where I think you can just go on there and be like, hey, I'm looking for a reader.
Yep.
And then, bloop.
Yep.
You got somebody.
Yeah, we're a resourceful bunch.
Oy. Okay. Casting. What is it? I'm always curious... Because like you mentioned, coming to Reno, there was the talk of the incentives. There's like the potential growth. It always feels like that's the Reno narrative of we're on the verge of some sort of
industry
in film, or specifically film is where my head is at. How I've almost been gone 3 years now, which is very exciting for me.
Yeah.
How has it been? Has there any...
I won't mention names.
Sure.
So we had a couple of unfortunate things happen. Now, little backstory. Nevada's a big state, not just wise, but we're long. So right now in Reno, Nevada, we're about parallel with San Francisco. Okay, Vegas is parallel with LA. So there's a lot of state in there. And Las Vegas is about a 4-hour drive away from Los Angeles, not including traffic. So there was a lot of films that were already going over to Vegas to produce and shoot and that kind of thing. We're not so close, but technically we had an advantage that we're just like a 1-hour flight to LAX. We are a right-to-work state, so it would be a lot less expensive to film here in many ways. When we got the film incentive, what we needed up here in Reno was to take some of that money and to put it into training production, not actors, production. Because what happened when the film incentive did finally get authorized through and we had companies looking up here, we didn't have crew. We didn't have trained crew. Low-budget films don't have time to do a lot of on-the-job training. So they bring their key people, and everybody else needs to be local and work as a local. And we didn't have people trained, so we were not financially viable for these films to come up. Because if they have to bring all their own crew, they're not saving any money. So it was unfortunate that the individuals who were leading the charge in that didn't have the knowledge to be able to foresee that until it was too late. They had spent the money going down and courting the film companies to come up here and film, and they thought that was wonderful until they realized that there was no crew. So then our film incentive and some other state money got reallocated. Thank you. Good term. Reallocated. Now it is still back there, but that initial blush of opportunity that, kind of had a lot of promo money and stuff going to it, that unfortunately had missed its mark, as they say.
That was even, okay, like you're saying, that's a little bit of foundation building for Nevada. Because I know when I was living here, like Mustang was a big one that took advantage of the incentive, and it took like the entire state to kind of crew that up.
Yeah,
it was a lot of Vegas people had to come up, and then we had a handful of Reno folk that could do.
They put people in charge of it who had worked with in film incentives in other states. But they just, that piece of the puzzle was missing. And by the time it was realized, the films that were looking to come up here had to go somewhere else because they had been lit. So they had to go film elsewhere.
Yeah, they couldn't wait.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So it's kind of been a little stagnant since then, is my assumption.
Yeah, we've got some small independent films that have come through. A lot of low budget horror films. There's just another one that shot up here.
Heard some Hallmark stuff.
Yes, the Hallmark comes out. I mean, it's beautiful up here. Well, not today with smoke, but we've got Lake Tahoe up here. I mean, you can go within 45 minutes. From Reno proper, and we've got a large airport that's easy to fly in and out of. But within 45 minutes, you can be in the middle of a desert. You can be up in snow-capped mountains. You can be in heavily wooded areas. You can be at a pristine lake. The location possibilities in northern Nevada are they're stunning. They're absolutely stunning. But you got a crew. Somebody's got to go get coffee,
and cater and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had mentioned, the acting side specifically, because you are currently coaching at Take Two Performer Studio. And you had mentioned that there was 4 actors that just made their jump to LA as of late.
Yeah, 2 in May and then 2 more in June.
And I used to, I feel like I've been gone so long. I say back in the day, people used to reach out to me when they were moving because I knew, because of Reno Film Collective, I knew who everybody was. And they'd be like, hey, I'm moving down. Like, nobody reaches out anymore except, like, Grant.
Yeah.
Grant, you mentioned.
Yeah.
You were the connecting dot on that, and we'll see where that goes. But, I guess I'm trying to gauge the Reno landscape and see if there's what's going on. Like, I always have hope for, there's always potential brewing.
Well, there could be, I mean, it's look, the whole industry, it always comes down to money.
Everything comes down to money.
Right? It just comes down to money.
Sure.
I think that a lot of filmmakers up here are getting to where they're making some really good product. So this is true both behind the camera or in front of the camera. You've got to be making good product. If you're an actor, you've got to be doing phenomenal things. When you go into an audition, whether it's a general audition for theater or for a casting director, you got to deliver the goods, right? You've got to show you put the work in. You know what you're doing. You know your craft. Talent is lovely, okay? Talent is great, but talent without skill set is hard to work with. So know your craft, okay? Know your skill set. Know what's expected of you. Be better skilled than you need to be, especially if you're starting out with some small projects. You want to be the person that they go, oh my gosh, I want to work with them again. They made it so easy. They made it run smoothly. We're all going to start in low budget, and low budget is low budget, which means there's not a lot of money for retakes. So if you can get it in 1 or 2 takes and move on, you're valuable. And I see it happening more up here. Work with good material.
Mm-hmm.
I say that even as to directors. Have a solid script. Have it go through the vetting process. Go through the rewrites. Get it in front of table reads.
Yeah, set people up for success.
Right, because everything will go smoother, and
it'll be better.
Filmmakers, don't say, gee, kids, let's film this weekend when you don't have anything written. Please. Do your pre-production. Get used to pre-production. It's okay to pull out the camera and just have some fun. But, if you're actually doing something that is budgeted,
100%.
Put the pre-production time into it. Your life will be so much happier if you have less fires to put out while you're filming. It really will. And a lot of this you can see ahead of time if you put in that work.
Yeah. No, I was going to throw on top, too, since you mentioned the craft and being solid, so you're kind of saving the production time. You're delivering great stuff with few takes. You can move on. Everybody's happy at that point. The director's getting what they want. The producers are, all this stuff works. On top of that, there's also a lot of time you spend on set that isn't in front of the camera.
Most.
So being workable during all that extra time is also very important. So being easy to work with the other 95% of the time you're there is, which may be the bigger make or break on whether or not they want to work with you again than actually what you deliver on camera.
Oh God, I have to tell stories on myself.
Okay, do it.
So when I was first down there, I'd show up on set like an hour early, thinking that was a good thing. It's not a good thing. They don't have any place to put you. They're not ready for you. There was the first commercial I worked on, and we had trailers, which was so cool, right? But I was sitting in this trailer, and I didn't understand. I was completely ignorant of how long everything took. So I'm sitting in my trailer, and I'm afraid they've forgotten about me, which was stupid. Now, I was a grown-ass woman. It's not like I was some 7-year-old who this is excusable. I was over 40. I should have known better, but I did not, or I forgot, or I got in my head and I got really insecure. So then I started kind of wandering around to make sure they knew I was still there. It was not good. It was not good.
What happened?
Well, I didn't get fired, but I didn't get asked back.
They're like, because I'm assuming...
I was too needy. I was too high maintenance. I was too needy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, okay. No, I buy that for sure. I mean, it sounds like you weren't creating any sort of chaotic, like you weren't being a diva in a sense.
No.
You were like, hey, look at me, I'm here, I want to be seen. It was like, that's a little bit of a different...
Yeah, but it's still that needy energy. I mean, it's not demanding energy, but it's still that needy energy. And your energy is it's feelable. It's, you know, and when they're trying to set up for production, they've got enough needy energy on set already. They don't need actors to be needy. So it wasn't destructive, but it was less than beneficial for me personally.
I had a thought and I lost it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about oh man.
I have an excuse. I'm old. Neediness on set. Stay in your trailer. Don't cause a problem.
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I don't know. I just think about something to do with needy actors, but I don't know what it was.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. So I think, like you mentioned, I'll jump to something else. You were talking about that wire's giving you trouble right there.
I'm just becoming self-conscious of it. It's fine.
It's fine.
I have a wire. I'm on a mic, so.
Where you're like, don't just go and shoot something on the weekend and expect it to work out with the script and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, I had my defense ready to go. But then you specified, if it's a budgeted thing, please...
Put the pre-production.
Pre-production, 100%. But then I wanted to remind people that doing both... Because like the whole thing with not having experienced crew in town, it's like, well, it's because nobody's learning on the job doing anything, so they can't show up. So it's like, at least put yourself in a position to where you're practicing the craft. And that, yeah.
So think of it, I like to think of it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's okay. So think of it as a screen test. Okay? Back in old Hollywood, they would bring 2 actors in for a screen test. That meant you were really close to getting cast. Okay? And what they were looking for is, are the actors comfortable in front of the camera? Is there chemistry? Do they work well together? Do they seem believable? Okay? So if you want to pick up friends and a camera and go shoot something for the weekend, think of it as a screen test. Okay? You're seeing, do you work together well as a crew? Is there good understanding? You know, can you, like Eddie said, can you give somebody some on-the-job training and show them how to do setups? But you're doing screen tests. You're not making an indie film yet. By the time it's a film, there are so many components. I don't want people to be discouraged by thinking it's easy. As I tell people, if there's an Academy Award given for it, it's because it's difficult. So if what you're doing could theoretically win an Academy Award, there's a skill set involved there. So yeah, absolutely. Pick up the camera, have some fun, get out there and see what you create on the fly, kind of like improv. It's a screen test. You could get lucky. You could, Sunday night, you could review the film and go, hey, wait a minute, we kind of have something here. It happens.
So getting back one more time to casting.
Yes.
That's a dumb question. What do you...
Oh, how do you figure out what to go for?
No.
Oh.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask about, you kind of said it already. I was going to ask about the takeaways from the experience of casting, but or like the do's and don'ts, or the what Reno has to offer in general. It's all very interesting.
Up here, and it's more of your time, but it'll be some of the most satisfying work you do. Do theater. You will get so much more grounded in your skill set because you have to say those lines a lot. I mean, in film, sometimes you get to say your line twice and then they move on, which isn't really satisfying. I was like, that was it? So do theater. Reno has a lot to offer. At this point in time, it doesn't pay. Because and really theater, you got to pretty much be in New York for paid theater. I mean, like a livelihood. We get some films up here. They're mostly low budget films. So there's pay, but you can't quit your day job. So you do whatever you can as a talent, and your talent, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera, your talent, okay? You do whatever you can to get really, really good at your skill set. What was the other part you were asking about? Casting?
Yeah, I was asking about the Reno casting landscape, on what kind of... I mean, it sounds like you're kind of hitting on it.
So the theaters here, we're meeting with the other community theaters here, and we're looking at trying to get something that's going to be community-wide going by next year, as far as a general...
Like a casting pool?
Yeah, like being able to do a general audition and then having a database where everybody's in there, so as talent we would have, and so if I need a 32-year-old Caucasian male, I could pull up headshots, kind of similar to what LA Casting does and SF Casting, having a database. So we're looking at doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like something that's... I remember, because I helped out with RAT for a while, and I remember there was a whole... It sounds like something that's probably been in the talks for quite a while, to simplify that process and whatnot. But I remember there being like a whole thing of like, when do we schedule our plays? Because there's a limited number of theater productions in town, and we don't... Stacking everybody on the same weekends.
I met with the main community theater companies in town here are TheaterWorks, nonprofits, TheaterWorks, Bruca, Reno Little Theater, RLT, Good Luck Macbeth, GLM, and Restless Artists Theatre. I think I've got, SPA, Sierra Performing Arts. And we actually met and we started exactly that conversation of, let's be able to open up communication and have a line of communication. We were going to do a play that we had announced last season, and then Reno Little Theater announced they were doing that play. And this has happened several times. So we made an adjustment, and if we had communication, we could avoid these things more. We could stagger at least our opening and closing weekends and that kind of thing. So there is, the process has begun. Yeah.
That's good.
It just makes life easier. And not just for the theater companies and the patrons, for the actors. Because then you could look at the landscape of plays that are being produced, do your homework, research the play, maybe buy the play and read it. And then you could specifically audition for things that you know you'd be good at. General auditions are lovely, and they're a great way for us to get to know you. And us knowing what talent is out there does affect the plays that we pick. We don't pre-cast. But I have to tell you that I have read so many plays, and we go, the play selection committee, it's like, do we have an actor locally who can do that? Not just talent-wise, but we're looking at adding more diversity. Do we have enough Latinx actors? Do we have enough African-American actors? That we could actually cast the play, because we need to cast it authentically. So those things are important for us on the play selection side, and for you as actors to know that you've been seen. that we know who you are, that we know you're out there. Because if you're out there, trust me, we're gonna absolutely exploit you in every way we can, in a very loving, nurturing situation.
Yeah, getting that introduction.
Mm-hmm.
That's a motto. I don't know if it's a motto that I've definitely had in the back of my mind a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who. The normal motto is "It's who you know,"
Mm-hmm.
and then the recent one that I heard that I liked a lot was "It's not who you know, it's who knows you."
It's who knows you.
Yeah. I don't know. Regardless, I love it.
Yeah, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
So, getting the introduction and getting your face in front of somebody gives somebody the opportunity to know that you exist at all. But yeah, I don't. So yeah.
Well, we had 42 actors at our season audition. We did it over a 3-day period, and out of those 42 actors, I would say 30 of them were people we'd never met before as a theater company.
Mm. And I wonder how many of those people were overlap or had went to open auditions at other theaters.
I don't know. We were the first ones post-pandemic to have our
Okay.
season auditions. But
nice.
Yeah, so right now this season there's still overlap, but we're hoping to
for sure
create something different. Yeah.
I'm just imagining like if that pool existed of all the theater companies and all the actor pool, like if these were just new people in general that wanted to get involved, or if
well,
I don't know. I wonder.
18 of them were from my class. Just saying.
Oh dang, nice.
Very proud of them.
They probably went for extra credit. Not that you could give
Actually,
out
I made it a class assignment. So.
Well, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
How's all that going? I know because we talked about the scene study, and that's the class that I took, and this is the same class taught in a new venue.
Yep.
And you have quite the plethora of students currently.
Yeah, we've got 24 currently enrolled.
That's very cool.
We cap out at 28, so.
There's still room.
There's still room.
Sign up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that that's something that you were pushing for a long time to get back up and running. And how is it everything you ever dreamed?
Well, you know what? It's as I said, it's the method that Joe Police taught down in LA, and this is my payment back to him, is doing these classes. It was so valuable to all of us that were in those classes. It we become such better actors, such better crafted actors, that in gratitude for him teaching me, I'm bringing it forward. He passed, 2 years ago? Last year? Must have been 2 years ago. So I owe this to actors here. And I won't mention names. When is this going to air?
Not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after.
Okay. So everybody will know by then. But I just have to tell you, of those 18 actors of my class that auditioned, 4 of them have been cast in our first play that we open with. Mm. And after a meeting this afternoon with the other directors of the season, I'm sure there will be more. So it does make a difference. It makes a huge difference to us. It makes a huge difference to me as a director. It makes a huge difference to you as actors. Let us know you're out there. And here's the other thing I want to tell you about casting, right? They're not against you. The casting director really, 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 really is rooting for you, as are the directors and the producers. They want you to be exactly what they're looking for. They're not judging you. We are not judging you like, oh, they're not good enough. We're just looking for the character to walk in the door. We really are. I remember the first short film that I did when I had Nevada casting, and Chip McLeod, who's a local actor here, and we were casting for the villain, no, we weren't casting. We were casting for the police detective. He was a villain in another film, and he walked in the room. He handed us his headshot and resume. I leaned over to my director and I said, "Oh God, I hope he can act because he is perfect." It was his mannerism, and he knew what he was reading for, right? He had his sides ahead of time. But it was just his mannerism. It's like, oh, dear God, please let this man be able to act because he looks exactly like what we're looking for. And he got called in because of his headshot. So we already knew we wanted what he looked like. So when you get called in, when you get an audition, even a general, you know, we want you to be amazing. We want you to knock our socks off. We want to start thinking, ooh, what can I put them in? Or, oh gosh, we saw this play, we read this play last year. They would be perfect in it. Let's bring it back. We really, really do. We're rooting for you.
Thumbs up. No, that's a great way of looking at it for sure. Because I know actors, maybe that's what I was going to say. Maybe it just came back to me. But acting is it's so weird. I always think about how actors can definitely feel overlooked and unseen and unappreciated, and you don't care about them, you don't see them, you don't want them, you don't like them.
Well, there are some directors that don't like working with actors, which just blows my mind.
Sure. So then, I feel like there's this whiplash when you finally get cast into a project, and then you show up on set and everybody's bowing to you and making sure you're happy and getting what you want. And
can I work on one of those sets, please?
I know the one that I worked on recently, the director was very
conciliatory,
tentative with how she dealt with the actors, because if we upset them, if we make them uncomfortable, I might not get what I want, and they might revolt, I don't know, there might be a huge issue of, if they're not happy, then the whole project's going to fall apart and crumble. So, it was a very weird funnel system where, there was this gate of the director's the only one that could talk to the actors. And I don't know if I felt like, well, these are trained actors here. They know how to interact with the production, and
they should.
I think talking to them as a script supervisor is fine. Whatever. There could be some protectiveness with. So then they go additional above and beyond to just make sure. All right, we have a space for you. There's this. We're taking care.
So there's kind of two things happening there. Okay.
Sure.
No offense to crew, but you guys can be a little rough. Because you are fighting the clock and you are trying to get things set up, and I get that. I mean, I'm a producer as well as an actor, so I totally understand behind the camera. And if somebody's in your way, you need to just be able to tell them, get out of my way. Okay? So, I understand that. And crew all knows this, right? You guys don't take it personally.
Get out of my way?
Yeah.
From who?
From your fellow crew.
Right.
If you're in their way, right?
Sure.
You
points, they push through.
Yeah, absolutely. You understand that. Actors who have worked in the business, they understand that. But when they're on set, they're not them. They're the character. So for the character in the piece, there has to not be crew there. Does that make sense? So maybe to some extent what the director's doing is kind of creating that bubble for the characters to evolve in. It saddens me a little to think that actors would revolt. I mean, listen, there are SAG rules for a reason, because not every production is historically has been lovely. But I mean, to have a hissy fit because you have red M&Ms in your trailer
it's especially because there's probably some insecurities as well, as this actor's normally working on these bigger productions, and we're a small indie, so we don't have the amenities that this actor is used to.
But if they didn't put it in their contract, then they have to let it go.
Sure, and they've worked on indies plenty of times too, so they understand what they're walking into, what they're signing up for.
Yeah,
regardless,
absolutely. I mean, at that point, with the now every director handles. Listen, on the set, the director is God. Okay, really, because it's their vision that they got hired to bring to life.
Yeah.
So, but the actors. I mean, it feels so much better when it's a collaborative environment, you can't make a movie if nobody's on camera. And you're not going to get it on camera if there's nobody behind the camera working it. So it really is, we're really not diabolically opposed to each other.
No. That's why I get kind of sad with the isolationist approach.
Yeah.
Separate them. I get it, and I get it too. It's like they're the character.
They need to prepare.
We want the authentic character to show up, so
right?
Let's interact as least as possible, or whatever.
Well, and it's funny because you get higher up in the echelon as actors, and it shifts because. George Clooney plays George Clooney.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's always a lot of George Clooney that he brings to his character, and he's hired to do that. So he could probably pal around the set and it would be all fine. But if you get somebody who's very method actor, or who has to, Daniel Day-Lewis is notorious for, he has to have the script 6 months before they shoot, and the minute he steps on set, he never gets out of character. Viggo Mortensen's like that. Those actors wouldn't necessarily be able to pal around, So some of it could be the method of the actors. A lot of it's on the director, what the director wants their set to be. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, but nobody should be holding each other hostage on a set. I mean, unless the writer wrote it that way.
Yes. Good. I agree. What are we missing here? What's the future? So there's Rats still. Mm-hmm. I feel like this, because we catch up, I don't know how many times a year these days.
Yeah, every 6 months or so,
Yeah. So I'm always curious about Restless Artists Theatre, how that's going, that's been a continual experiment and growth on its own.
It is. And during the pandemic, we really got to define ourselves even more. So when we started the theater company, we decided that we wanted to do modern plays. So we don't really do plays written before 2000. Edgier, smaller cast, because we have a small, intimate theater. I think our house, we took more seats out and redid it. I think we're sitting at about 48 capacity. So it's very, very intimate. Our artistic director also is our landlord. He owns the building. So we're in kind of a really sweet spot. We don't need to do musicals. We don't need to, we don't have a lot of grant money. We'd love to be able to pay our actors at some point in time, but coming up with the economics for that in a town this size is difficult. So we are not looking to be the big fish in a little pond. We are looking to produce theater that challenges the actor in the storytelling, that challenges the audience in thinking, in doing things. Right now, what we've got running is Arsonists. And it's a 2-person play. It's a gothic southern tale about arsonists and this father-daughter team. It's been in the family for decades. They're arsons. That's what they do. And, the heart and the soul of a father-daughter relationship is the heart and the soul of a father-daughter relationship, regardless of what the family profession is. So I'm really pleased with where RAT is going. We've really found our niche. Now we're bringing more actors into this, which is fulfilling for the actors and for the pieces. They're challenging pieces. None of them are simple. None of them are easy. But life isn't simple. Life isn't easy. So yeah, yeah, we found our little boutique-y spot.
Yeah, and I know that strong acting has been kind of the push too, which is the whole scene study.
Oh yeah,
reason too with you trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing the classic plays, they're lovely, but the audiences have a preconceived notion of who that character is, right? I mean, if you go to see Death of a Salesman, you have a preconceived notion about what you expect from Willy Loman. And Willy Loman can't go too far afield from classic Willy Loman, right? Because he's got all this pedigree of who's done it before. But when you're doing new plays by Lauren Gunderman and Tracy Lett and Larissa Fasthorse, audiences haven't seen those characters before. So they come in really kind of with, a blank piece of paper that we get to draw and fill in the lines and color. We have to stay true to the script, but the audience doesn't know what to expect. Some theater people like that, some theater people don't, but that's kind of what we bring to the theater scene as Rat Theater.
So continuing, yeah, so I imagine Rat's going to continue pushing and continue doing their thing for forever?
Well, our artistic director has a goal of directing 100 plays. That's kind of his...
Like a little benchmark to push
That's his benchmark, and Occupant was play number 55. So yes, I think we'll be doing this for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. He was with Reno Little Theater for 18 years.
Oh, okay. His number 55.
His number
not
55.
Rat's
No,
number.
not our. But we must be, I'll have to count the posters on the wall when I go in this afternoon, but we're probably, we've averaged, except our first year we only did 2. And last season we ended up with 3 before we closed, so that's 5. Other than that, we generally do about 7 shows a season, and that was our 5th season. So, and Doug directs most of them.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, I'll have to. I'll text you the number when I go in this afternoon and count the posters on the wall.
Let me just look at my notes here. See if there's any other random topics I wanted to ask about while I have you here. Oh, where is this? Oh, here we go. Nope. I don't know. Sometimes I'll ask about current world events and stuff, but I don't know.
It's smoky, and everybody get your vaccination, please. Unless you physically can't, please get it, because I'm going a little stir crazy here.
No, for sure. That's been the narrative. The production I was just on, I'm sure you've heard about the processes. This one was a SAG production, so we had to go with what the SAG guidelines were. And so I was getting tested 3 times a week, plus all the productions, as of right now, are asking for your vaccination status on top. So it's like, are you vaccinated? Yes. And it's like, all right, cool, we still need you to test.
Because you could carry. We
still need you to wear your mask. We still, so they're just adding more layers on top of it, if anything, then...
And look, if you don't want to get a vaccine, that's okay, stay home. Just stay home.
Stay home.
We stayed home a lot.
If you don't...
But you know what? It's changing. I know that the Raiders stadium down in Vegas, that big, huge stadium, nobody gets in if you're not vaccinated.
Really?
They just made a declaration. You do not get to come in and see a game if you are not vaccinated. UNR, starting spring semester, you have to be vaccinated to attend. We have to have a Hep C vaccination to attend UNR.
Sure.
So you have to have your COVID. So I think we're going to see more of that.
It's pretty intense.
It is intense, but this thing can kill you. And now kids are getting the variants. So do it for the kids.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And then as far, outside of rat, what you mentioned Zumba. Is that
Jazzercise.
Jazzercise? Sorry, same
That's
thing.
okay. He didn't mean that, Judy and Shanna. He didn't mean that.
Jazzercise. So you're still
Yeah, I'm still instructing. Not as many
awesome.
days a week, and we have to wear masks, which is fun.
Oh, that's annoying.
And I'm actually launching a coaching program called Inspired Woman Coaching. And I am niche marketing women over 60, using kind of that on-purpose person kind of discovery, and then moving it beyond into using universal law to really define yourself, because at 60, I mean, we got a good 20 plus years left. And we've done all that societally expected things, right? We went to school, we got married, we raised children, we did that. Now what is our purpose, and how close are we to it, and do we want to pursue our bliss? So that's my new endeavor out of the pandemic.
That's got to be so scary.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah. So you said that's coaching.
Yeah, Inspired Women Coaching. Yeah.
Okay. Is that life coach? Oh, you're trying to stay away from that term?
You know, when you're 60, you could argue how much life. No,
but
not purpose coaching.
Okay.
It's purpose coaching, not life coaching.
Gotcha.
You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of weekly on Zoom, and then there's activities, and I'd like to grow it into something, but I'm just not sure what it'll grow into yet. So we're starting where we're starting.
That's great. See what happens.
Yeah.
No, it's. No, I think about my mom for sure. She's definitely in that zone. We were having a conversation yesterday about I was trying to get out of her. I'm like, she was asking what she has these options currently in like her current job, and
right.
If she wants to stay, if she wants to try to move up, if she wants to switch fields, the classic questions of what do I want to be doing with my life?
What do I want to be when I grow up, right?
So
you'd think.
So trying to get the whole bliss purpose thing.
Well, I'm doing another session, a 4-week session, which is kind of like the Discovering Yourself session in October, and I am scholarshiping those. I'm going to start selling them after the first year. Sure. But yeah, if your mom would like to join it, it's like Tuesday mornings, 8 o'clock on a Zoom call once a week, and a little self-study.
I think it's great to know.
Yeah.
I'll have to let her know about
Let her know.
Yeah, because I know, I don't know, my own sage advice to my own mother was mostly like having some insight from a third party that is not connected to you in any way. Because everybody's got their, I don't know, like my dad might have a certain view on what she should do.
Sure.
I have a thought on what she should do. But it's like, no. We want to know what you want to do. What do you want?
And as a woman, especially a 60-year-old woman, we have been trained to do what everybody else wants us to do, for the most part. And that's the expectation. And the coaching I'm doing is specifically to address that, to guide women into really discovering what it is they want to do.
Yeah, that's quite the habit to break down some thick walls.
And there are exercises that we do in discovery, but really, it's finding your bliss. Mm-hmm. When you're doing what you intended to do, what your purpose is.
Yes. Is this a personal legend again? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Just to clarify.
It makes such sense. It's like, of course this is what I should be doing. And there were little things all along that are kind of like that, but you didn't necessarily embrace it. You didn't necessarily give yourself the acknowledgement of your own value. Mm-hmm. You judged, like we're all afraid of walking into a casting because we're going to be judged. Show them who you are. If they want you, great. If they don't, that's okay. You don't want to work with them anyway. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking at the time. Great. Doing great. anything for me? Anything you're curious
Oh
about?
God, keep doing what you're doing, Eddie. We got to stay in touch. I love following it. When you do get to produce your next film, though, I do expect a role.
Okay,
I just want to say, I'll probably be sick and die in the opening scene.
It's like, well, here you asked for it.
I know.
Like,
but yeah, I just love watching you. I love watching you grow and your work. And you know why I love it the most?
Tell me.
Because you're happy.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Because you're happy.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very fun. Mm-hmm. It's great. No, it's been amazing. I don't know. I'm trying to. Yeah, no. Thank you for keeping up, and thanks.
You're welcome.
I try to. Yeah, I think it's important to keep putting out that I'm loving the pursuit and keeping people posted about the creative struggle of the continual self-challenges and all of the weight that comes with that. But
you know the value of it's worth it because it's your bliss.
Exactly. No, thank you. Is that your question? I'm just kidding. Yeah, so like right now, I guess, just to clarify where I'm at, I'm so close to joining Script Supervisor Union.
Nice.
Have a second feature in post-production, which I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
It grew a lot between It's What's on the Inside and what we shot in May. It was almost 2 years in between of just straight up experience, which of course, it just all adds up all the time.
Sure.
So that's in post. I got the first rough cut. I get a view this next week going back.
Oh, nice.
So that's very exciting. Starting pre on number 3. So I'll keep an eye out for like, what does she fit in here? I can already see some options.
Hey, you don't know if you don't ask, right?
And yeah, freelancing plus the side hustle plus the. I guess the other current thing too is I turn 32 next month, which is very exciting.
Congratulations.
Seems like you've
come a long way though since college.
It's been some time since college.
Yeah, and a lot of experience and a lot of work. And I really want to acknowledge that you were willing to take the risks. You were willing to step into territory because you felt a pull to explore, and you were right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it's that's the same mentality I take into every next step. Is like, all right, explore. This is the pull. I gotta go there. Let's do it. Take the step, and then of course it's always wonderful.
Yeah.
But So movie in post, movie in pre. Freelancing is going crazy right now too, so it's all
so
very
good to hear.
It's all very nice.
Yeah,
it's all very nice. I did recently. I'm hoping to have. I want to talk to another script supervisor on the podcast soon, and I've talked to 2 before. Because like script supervisors, we're not on set together. It's a one-person position, one-person department. So I worked on like this. This bigger project before I came out here, and it was like a 15-day anthology kind of feature.
Right.
So it was like 2 short films every 2 days being shot over 15 days.
Oh wow!
And I filled in for 1 day, and just came out and did my thing, and I sent my notes to the producers. And the next day, the script supervisor reaches out to me and saying, "Hey, by the way, I need those. I need your timings in. You didn't include the proper timings." And I was like, "Oh, shucks, sorry, I forgot." Because normally I'm working on. You're familiar with timings, yes?
Right.
Yes. So sometimes it's beneficial for production to have a gauge of how long the project's gonna cut. Because you have the page on the script, but sometimes it might run for that might be a 5-minute thing because there's an action description that takes up whatever.
Right.
So it's like, how long was it actually as we shot it?
Right.
So what's the actual timing? So normally I don't include those numbers because I'm on so many indie projects that are just happy to be shooting their movie at all, and they don't care how long it's going to be.
Right. They'll fix that in post.
So I have a current bad habit of not defaulting and doing a timing.
Oh.
Because nobody cares and nobody asks. But this one was a big enough project where it's like, we expect timings. So it took me 5 minutes or 10 minutes to go through my notes. I'm like, all right, here's the timing. Sorry, I forgot. And then I got this whole email back from her saying... just a little bit of a condescending talk of, you should understand timings are very important. I think it'd be very good for you to speak with other script supervisors, get a gauge of what our responsibilities are. And I'm like, oh, thank you for being a supportive team player there. So I sassily responded to, like, I would love to have you on the podcast and actually talk more. And
good.
And whatnot. And her and I were both... I looked her up, and we were both instructed by the same script supervisor workshop and stuff. So we have the same background and whatever. We're still rolling. I'm about to. But either way, that was that's something that normally doesn't happen, and that was that was like a weird thing to experience.
Yeah. But, so it was an indie film or a SAG film?
This thing was a huge production.
But was it union or non-union?
It was union for sure.
Yeah.
It was non-union. It was not IATSE, but it was SAG. There was SAG talent.
Right.
Because I was there, I'm not union.
Right.
But,
that's where I got confused.
Yeah. So that was kind of a bummer.
Well, now you know.
I'll end on that.
Yeah. Now you. Yeah, and you know what? We learned those things, right? And here's the thing.
There's nothing to learn.
When they happen, they're embarrassing, right?
Well, I mean, the whole thing was, I thought I did a very good job of explaining, apologies.
Sure.
I've been working on a lot of this other stuff. It slipped. Here's the stuff that you looked for.
Right. You gave it to her. You didn't say, well, I didn't do it.
Yeah. It's like, I thought I explained myself.
Yeah. No, you did a good job.
And then, I know I did. I just had to get off my chest.
But this is something to look forward to. Because then she's going to be on the podcast, right?
Ideally. She has not responded to that email, unfortunately.
Oh.
But I'll see what I can do.
That's right.
And then I'll put her on the spot.
Maybe that's why she hasn't responded yet.
No, she'd be great. I would be very genuine about the experience.
Yeah, of course.
But last very small question that I always end on is just, I don't know what your social media thing is these days, or if people do want to follow, keep up with, let's say, Restless Artists Theatre, or... Yep,
we have a Facebook page for Restless Artists Theatre. You can find me on Facebook, Debra Lynn Hull. Mm-hmm. It's not that I'm snooty, but when I got into SAG, there was already a Debra Hull, and there was already a Debra Lynn, and so I went with Debra Lynn Hull.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd love to interact with you on Facebook. If you're here locally, especially, come talk to me about Rat Theater and actors. I'm always interested in meeting the actors, and if you're on projects or whatever I can do to help. Here's the thing, the more talent, both in front of and behind the camera, that we have up here, the better our odds are of being able to attract the attention and getting more projects up here. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to meet you guys. Look up Rat, come see a show. We've got all the COVID safety. We've got the sprayer thing that, I don't know, it looks like something from Mars. But Doug doesn't let me play with it.
Thingy.
Yeah, it's got a sprayer thingy. So we're COVID safe and a lot of fun.
Very cool.
And if you're in LA, if you ever come up to Reno, look us up.
Come say hi.
Yeah, come say hi.
Great. All right. Well, I'll leave it there. Thanks again for being a part.
Thank you so much. This has been fun. It's so good to catch up with you again. Yes. Always.
Yes. Great to see you too.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.